Today we have Brian Burke along with Holly Bryant, Lilia Gonzalez, and Mike Allen with Aryaka to discuss boost performance, reduce cost, and scale connectivity. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you for having us. And everyone, thanks for joining the call today. We appreciate it. Real quick, just to give go around, we can do some quick intros. I know a lot of you probably know who we are, but for those of you who don't, I'll start with myself, and then we can go to Holly and go to Mike, as well as Elier, and then we'll go ahead and give a presentation. We've got some slides to share, and we'll be kind of tag teaming it as we go through here. So first and foremost, I'm Ryan Burke. I'm the Channel Sales Director for Aryaka. I support all of our partner relationships throughout what we refer to as the North Central region. It encompasses the East and West, and just so happens to so I support Missouri as well as Kentucky. So fortunately for me, I have the great honor to support the TDM Claris team, and we appreciate your partnership. I'm going to go ahead and let Holly introduce herself, and then Mike and Elier, and then we can go and get started, everybody.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Holly Bryant. I'm the Strategic Sales Director. I apologize, I can't seem to get my video to function on here, but nonetheless, I'm based out of St. Louis, and I support Ryan in the territory. And essentially, kind of my role is to kind of be the Aryaka subject matter expert, help you go close deals for Aryaka, price quotes, and all sorts of good stuff. So happy to be here and speak on behalf of Aryaka. Thank you.
Hey, hello everyone. My name is Mike Allen. I am Jack of all trades, master of none, and principal solutions architect here at Aryaka, supporting the technical aspects of the sale, the partner, and the client in the entire life cycle from soup to nuts. So not only during the sales process, but also during the life cycle of our clients and our partners. Nice to meet you.
Awesome.
Hey everybody, my name is Elier, and I'm based out of Dallas. I'm the North America Field and Channel Manager, and I'm here to support not only Ryan's team, but also the greater Aryaka North America team in any field and channel activations.
One thing to add real quick before we get started, I sincerely believe that this team on this call on the Aryaka side is the best that we have. Holly's been, some of you probably know Holly's name. Holly's been heavily involved in some of the largest wins and sales that we have here at Aryaka, large building customers, complex networks, etc. We're very fortunate to have her support us from a strategic sales perspective. And then obviously Mike Allen, he's got to be our best solutions architect that we have on board. Not only is he very technical, got great acumen from a technical perspective, but he can sell. So he is a sales engineer, not a sales engineer. I like to put it. So appreciate having them both part of the team, as well as Elier's been spot on helping us from a marketing perspective. So honestly, have probably the best team here, Aryaka, supporting the TDM and Claris folks. So appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen here real quick, if I can. Let me know when.
Did he freeze or did I?
I think Brian might have froze.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll give it a minute.
We can see his screen. It looks good, but it's like we're in a pause.
This is that part of the matrix.
Aryaka is winning.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
You can see it now?
Yes, looks good. Thank you.
Awesome. So guys, we've kind of revamped our regions across the US. We also have folks that are in Europe and APAC, but more importantly for the TDM Claris team here on this call, as you can see, we've kind of realigned things to better support our partners. So ultimately, as I mentioned before, I support our partners in both the blue and then the, what would it be, squiggly white line in blue states. And then obviously you see Holly from a strategic seller perspective, and then our solutions architect, Mike Allen. So we've adopted this pod-like philosophy across the US, which a lot of other companies do the same thing. But we feel that gives us the best way to support you guys as a team. Now, keep in mind, I understand there's probably some individual sellers on this call that may be in different states that are not, in this color-coded region that ultimately is the region that I support. That doesn't matter. We align ourselves based on where the headquarters is or secondary headquarters is of a partner. So obviously TDM being in Kentucky, Claris being in Missouri, as you can see, that's part of our region. So we're responsible to support you guys, regardless of there being a seller that's in California or a seller in Texas, right? So we're here to support you and take care of you as best as we can. So that's kind of our updated franchise map, we call it, of the North Central Territory. I've got a next slide because I know I'm going to share this with you guys when we're done here. That kind of gives obviously contact information for each one of us. Obviously myself, Holly, Mike. Carter is on here. Carter's more of a strategic seller, commercial sales individual that helps sell some of the smaller accounts under a certain threshold. But if you have an opportunity for us, please bring it to me. We can identify it and make sure we get you aligned with the right person. Most of the time, I'd say probably 95% of the time, it's going to be Holly from that perspective. So guys, what's going on in Aryaka, right? I talked about some things that may be new. And I want to kind of cover a couple of them before we turn over to Mike to kind of talk from a technical product perspective. Guys, one of the most important things I think that we have going on here at Aryaka is that we are 100% partner driven. So there are no direct selling folks. So you're not competing as a seller with a sales rep in a specific region. I know we have Holly and I mentioned Carter as well. Those folks are purely here to help support opportunities that are driven out of the partner community, right? So those opportunities that you bring to the table for us, we want to work on together. They're responsible to help support and sell them. There's no point of them going off on their own and selling things direct. So we're 100% partner driven, so no competition with direct sales reps. So I think is really important. Something that's new, Aryaka has a spiff. Okay, so we have a spiff out going on right now for new logo sales. So we can kind of follow up this call with a marketing piece that kind of shows you what that spiff entails. So that may help drive maybe some opportunity that's out there, knowing that we have a spiff going on, which is great. And we haven't had one of those for a long time, so I'm pretty happy that we have the ability to share that with you guys. We're hearing in the, through channel and through other partners that there are some competitors in the SD-WAN space that do not pay full compensation on a renewal. I've heard upwards of 50% reduction with some companies. We pay full compensation on a renewal. So our goal is to obviously to bring a customer on, keep them happy, grow with them, and then obviously renew them and keep renewing them and allow them potentially, to engage in maybe different products, some better pricing, some concessions, because we thank them for being a customer. But from a partner perspective, we pay full compensation on renewals. We've also just recently rolled out, and you may have seen some email communication from our great marketing folks like Elier, that we have some simplified pricing and packaging. So as you know, in past, our pricing can be kind of complicated, especially when we send you guys one of those. Have you ever seen them? I know some folks on this call have seen them. I know Mr. Matt Hayes has seen it quite a few times, but those Aryaka draft order forms with all of our SKUs listed and the pricing, those can be kind of confusing. So we've really simplified our pricing and packaging. And what that means is that we only have 2 regions now. We have a global region, which encompasses the entire world with the exception of China. China still falls within its own region just because from a internet perspective, pricing, et cetera, and ingress out of that country. But that's really simplified things for us. And then we've got 3 flavors of pricing and packaging. We start with our lowest level, which is just straight SD-WAN. And then we have a middle level with SD-WAN with some SASE components, such as next generation firewall, secure web gateway, et cetera. And then to go all the way to the top, we have what's referred to as our advanced security solution, which includes CASB and in future for a DLP as well. So don't spend a ton of time getting too confused about that. That's something that we will handle internally here, Holly, myself, and Mike, from a pricing perspective. We want to make sure that you understood that on our side and facing a customer, it's going to be a little bit simpler and easier to understand. Guys, we're also seeing kind of a shift in customer segment. Again, I know some of you have had experience with us. Obviously, we've got quite a few really great customers that have gone through the TDM Claris relationship, which we appreciate. But we're seeing a shift in customers from the enterprise, which I know you are probably familiar with us being able to handle and support very well. We're seeing some of the SMB customers get interest, and we're gaining some traction with those types of entities. Reason we think being so is that some of those companies have sometimes smaller IT staff. and they're looking to consolidate things with one vendor and make it easier for that IT team to help leverage, an SD-WAN vendor, doing SD-WAN, doing internet circuits, aggregation of circuits for them and managing those for them, monitoring them, as well as providing security such as the SASE offering or unified SASE offering that we have out now. So combine all three of those together, it allows an IT staff or an IT individual or a handful of IT individuals to focus on other projects, right? They don't have to worry about the WAN. They don't have to worry about the circuits being out, down, et cetera. They don't have to worry about security. So we've done that for quite a few customers, anywhere from a customer with 5 locations that could be maybe billing $3,000 or $4,000 a month, all the way up to some of those maybe a little bit larger customers that are under the enterprise level, right? So doesn't mean that we're not focusing and we can't support enterprise customers that are out there, like someone that has 100 locations. It just means that we're seeing kind of a shift and being able to support and getting a good traction from those types of customers. So that's kind of what's going on in Aryaka. It's exciting. We also have some new leadership. You may have heard Chris Rinaldi is now our Chief Revenue Officer. We've also hired a new channel chief. His name's Nick. I'm very impressed. They've given us full support. They've jumped on calls with partners to introduce themselves, things like that. So I'm very happy with the direction things are going, and got a lot of great opportunity out there. So I think now it's time for my dear friend Mike Allen to begin. And Mike, you let me know when you're ready, and I can move slides ahead for you, my friend.
Will do. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for having me. As we look at the landscape today in our industry and what we see and what many of you have likely experienced, what we see is kind of these stitched together solutions, right? The idea of a box vendor having a single responsibility in the network and or the ability to turn on different features within a box, things like application performance management, SD-WAN, next generation firewall, secure web gateway, cloud access security broker, all which can be very complex in nature. And today, what we often find is that there's those box vendors that have those capabilities, and then a network provider out there, a carrier, and the responsibility on the IT team and the network administrators to stitch this together, then to hire the staff in each one of these talents with a deep bench at an expensive cost to maintain them while they're in this network business. And ultimately, what we find when we have those stitched together solutions is it creates lack of agility, right? Not the ability to move things on the fly, and a bad user experience. And when things go wrong, people pointing fingers at one another because you don't have the expertise, and the network guy blames the firewall, and the firewall blames the network, and the carrier says it's not my problem because there's a circuit there. So lots of complexity out there, and what we've seen currently is the shortcomings in the industry. Next slide, please. So we came at this, and I'll get into it a little bit more later, but with this inherent capability with this world-class network to create what we are queuing as unified SASE as a service, graduating or evolving from network as a service into this unified SASE as a service. And we believe that there's 4 pillars that make that up. And that's a single pass architecture on a global private network, flexible delivery options as it relates to where we meet that traffic, and then the comprehensive capabilities of what consists of SASE, so SD-WAN and security, and the security components that make that up. Next slide. So here's the Aryaka network, and 15 years ago, we were founded on the idea that we needed to take our clients. There was a need that needed to take computer-aided design files and be able to work on those big files across the pond and globally. That was not an easy undertaking, as those files are big, and generally the only way that you can work on them is if you're sitting in the data center next to them. So our founders came from the WAN edge optimization world, and they started to stitch together this world-class network. And what you see here is 42 points of presence that run our proprietary code of WAN edge optimization and SASE services. Those 42 physical points of presence are co-located in the largest network access points of the world. So think largely Equinix. They are stitched together with 10 gig and 100 gig wavelengths that are diverse in nature and in a fully meshed topology. And then we participate at layer 2, born in the cloud, if you will. So with the largest software as a service and infrastructure as a service providers that are out there. So if you think about the Oracle OCIs and the AWS direct connects and the fast routes, et cetera, that are out there, Azure express routes, et cetera, we're connected to those in the cloud at layer 2, oftentimes just 1 millisecond hop from those service providers. Next slide, please. So a little look under the hood, this one-pass architecture, the SASE as a service that we've queued it, essentially is 3 parts. The first part that we really want to look at is that unified control plane. That unified control plane in the middle there houses the Aryaka product portfolio. So everything from the foundation of SD-WAN into next generation firewall, cloud access security broker, IDS, IPS, anti-malware, DNS security, zero trust network, all the analytics engines are ubiquitous across our network. So the same software that runs on our point of presence is the same software that runs on our infrastructure device that we deploy, which is the same software that runs ubiquitously across the network. And that is our own intellectual property, meaning that we are not OEM. We're not going to some original equipment manufacturer. If there's a problem, we're just simply escalating to our smartest engineers within the organization to get problems fixed. And then finally, we have this distributed data plane. So we're meeting the data where it's at, the ingress, the egress of LAN WAN traffic for our customer where it's at. What this means to you and what is a differentiator for us in the industry is that not all traffic has to go to our point of presence. We can actually split tunnel at the customer branch and site, apply policy from an orchestration layer at that site and or at the POP, depending on the nature of that traffic. So couple that all together, you've got this single management pane in the My Aryaka portal, which is our single pane of glass, where we allow either our customers and or ourselves to manipulate, view, and observe that traffic. Next slide, please. All right, so under the hood a little bit more, that ANAP there you see on the right-hand side next to the branch builds an IPsec tunnel into our closest point of presence. Generally, that point of presence is within 20 milliseconds of 95% of the global knowledge workforce. We generally deploy those ANAPs in HA environment. They are fail to wire with a dual ISP. Meaning that you can load balance traditional SD-WAN type behavior, telemetry of circuits, look at latency, jitter, etc., and choose the route for your ingress egress traffic. When deployed in HA with a dual ISP, we offer, and we are one of the very few, if not the only SD-WAN and SASE providers out there that offer a day one SLA of 4 nines. 4 nines branch to branch, 5 nines pop to pop, and that is on a per site basis. I mentioned that we also employ WAN edge optimization capabilities. So not all networks are created equal. Oftentimes what we find is people that are moving from MPLS like the transition to Aryaka because it is very similar. So secure, reliable, class of service, quality of service, and you get all 3 of those. Oh, and private, you get all 4 of those actually across our network. You get the security of IPsec, the reliability of the layer 2 network that's stitched together, that middle mile as we call it. We honor class of service, quality of service across the network, and it is reliable just as if it was MPLS due to the failover. We also have TCP/IP proxying, WAN edge optimization, byte level caching, application acceleration, and deduplication that is part of our proprietary code. Next slide, please. So with all that said, I don't want to be, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that we've evolved. So we started as that computer-aided design, the WAN edge optimization. We built the private network. And then on top of that, we started to employ our SD-WAN feature functionality of things like failover and path selection and redundant capabilities and encryption from end to end across the network. And now the analysts are out there and they've queued this thing called SASE, and lo and behold, we've already got the network and the code to be able to do that. So we've graduated now and evolved into this SASE, where we offer cloud access security broker, next generation firewall, anti-malware, IDS, IPS, all inherently within our network. And a lot of that is our proprietary code, but we use the best of breed out there from an engine perspective for our IDS, for our CASB. You don't want to be an island in the world of security, right? Any CISO will always say, check the trust checker, never trust anyone. And so we employ that in our network as it relates to using the best of the best out there from a database and engine perspective to ensure that we're up to date with all our security policy. Next slide. And this is where I get to turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Ms. Holly Bryant.
Hey, real quick, Mike, I apologize, and apologize, Holly, you wanted to jump in real quick. Mike, can you just touch base real quick before Holly goes about how, I mean, obviously a lot of people are learning nowadays and hearing about companies implementing AI and using AI, right? And I know at Aryaka, we're implementing and using AI. Can you maybe just real quick, just touch base briefly on how we can potentially provide a layer of security for those AI applications for our customers, and maybe perform better by shipping some of that AI traffic or applications across our network, just real briefly?
Absolutely, Ryan. So a couple things. If you're not having an AI conversation with your clients today, you're not having the right conversations, because everybody's talking about it. As a matter of fact, there's this term out there called AI whitewashing at this point, because it's such a buzz in the industry, and you've got to kind of filter through it to see, well, what truly is AI. But as it relates to Aryaka, we have a three-pronged process with AI. First and foremost, because of the way that the network's built in the cloud and the 42 points of presence that we have globally, we are connected to the largest LLMs that are out there. So if you're running large AI workloads, you can ensure that those workloads are performing their best and connected over our private network because of that, like I said, that 3 to 20 milliseconds or even 1 millisecond to those large language models that are out there, those co-pilots, chat GPTs, et cetera, that are out there. And then we are launching actually a product tomorrow that's called AI Observe, which takes our unique ability to see all that traffic that traverses our global network and start to manipulate it and use machine learning and understand behavioral analytics from a network perspective on what's going out there, and then put it in a graphical representation for our clients so they can see what's going on from an observability perspective within our AI. And then finally, later this year, what you'll see is, I believe we're going to call it AI Protect, but it'll be the ability to use then that AI driven analytics, et cetera, to understand anomalies on the network and start to proactively mitigate things from an AI perspective, from a security perspective on the network.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I keep hearing too, throughout the industry that AI is great and everything like that, but also now people are concerned with, hey, how are we going to secure it, right? And I think we're a great option from a unified SASE perspective in our network to drive that traffic and then secure it. So thank
Agreed.
you.
And you'll see those things in next generation firewall and cloud access security broker as they mature and evolve, where you'll be able to look at each individual data stream and build a policy around it from a security perspective.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. All right, Holly, apologize.
No worries. I'll try to close this out quick. Just to kind of close the thought here would be, kind of what are some use cases to think of Aryaka and look to introduce this to your customers. I mean, ultimately, if you still have any customers that are still on MPLS and are looking to move away to kind of the next best thing and ensure that they have class of service, quality of service abilities still. If you have any customers that are suffering from application performance issues, this also ties into if they have any locations based in China, and particularly we see it commonly where there's applications that those users based in China are trying to access out of the country, and they run into the Great Firewall, kind of challenging that traffic. We do have a lot of customers, specifically even large accounts, where they're just tired of dealing with the traditional telcos and they want someone that can really manage their services and aggregate all their circuits and things like that. Customers who are looking for maybe to enter into the SASE journey, but want a vendor that will be kind of flexible with them. That's one of the things that I personally love about Aryaka and our product offering is that you can start with us with SD-WAN, you can layer on the security or SASE functionality. Also, you've got the flexibility to kind of bring in internet circuits as well, or kind of bring your own. So lots of flexibility in our product offering. It's not a, take all or none type scenario. And we also have some customers where they just have really small IT teams and they need to offload some of the workload to a managed provider. So that's also a common use case. Next slide. Key differentiators. Again, I think this closes this out, but one of the key differentiators for us is we do have our own proprietary SD-WAN appliance. We are not white labeling someone else's appliance. This is also our own security solution. We do have the ability to work well with other security offerings. If that's something that they're a Palo Alto shop or something, we can be flexible in that area. Our solution is also paired up with the POPs and the network backbone to move the critical traffic off the internet. So in traditional SD-WAN solutions, you're kind of internet the whole path. For us, you're just internet that, that short hop to our POP. And from there, you're on a backbone kind of the rest of the way. We also have flexibility in connecting to us, again, where you can kind of bring your own internet service. You can bring your own internet service and add monitoring and kind of take some of that workload off your IT teams, or you can buy through us and we can aggregate that billing for you. And then again, flexibility and security, where you can kind of bring your own security solution. We can insert our appliance in a multitude of different ways into the environment. We can also be that connector to other third parties, or you can buy Aryaka's SASE or security offerings. And then also we include WAN optimization as kind of part of our service, which helps differentiate us from a portion of the SD-WAN community.
I think that's all we have for you today. Thanks, Holly. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. I think at this point in time, I think we're going to kind of pause, maybe potentially answer some questions. Is that correct?
That is correct. We do have one to start. What is the minimum sized opportunity you will work on?
It's a great question. We've been asked that quite a bit. Ironically, the ideal size customer probably would be at least 2 sites. You definitely probably don't want to have a customer just has 1 site, unless for some reason it's 1 site, maybe connecting into an Azure or an AWS instance. So I could say there's probably really no site minimum. I've got a personal customer that's got 2 sites. They had a warehouse and a headquarters across the street from each other and had an expensive point-to-point circuit. We just put ANAPs at each location and then ultimately created a VPN tunnel between those 2 sites. And they bought 2 internet circuits for each location where we're managing and monitoring those circuits. And then we go all the way up to customers that have 500-600 sites or more, right? So great question. I would suggest that if there's an opportunity, please bring it to myself, and then myself and Holly and Mike can vet it out, make sure it's a right good fit for us, and get working on it for you.
All right. The next question is, who else offers SASE products and what is your differentiator?
Good question. Mike, you want to take that one or
Yeah,
Holly?
so SASE is this ever-changing and evolving environment. There's multiple people out there that offer them. I would say that we find our largest competition is that stitched together solution that I talked about at the beginning of the presentation. So the carriers who are partnering with people, the likes of the Velos or the Palos or the Checkpoints, et cetera, out there that are security providers that have an SD-WAN functionality in their box, and then they build that over IPsec tunnel as opposed to a private network like us. Those are the likes of the competition that we see out there, and then the differentiators are the fact that it's our own proprietary product. We have WAN edge optimization. We use all the best engines from a policy perspective and security out there. We own the solution end to end. So I don't know if we touched on it, but we can also procure, manage, maintain, and bill last mile services as a whole MSSP provider out there. And let's see, class of service, quality service, the private network, our own proprietary code. Those are the things that differentiate us.
Yeah, that's a great question. Like I just saw an ad somewhere. I can't remember where it was on on the computer, and Fortinet has a SASE offering. But like for that instance, the biggest differentiator is Fortinet's just a box. There's no private network. There's no 45 plus POPs, that are sitting in facilities that you can get access into AWS and Azure and Salesforce and SAP, et cetera. Right. So a lot of those vendors that are in our space, the SD-WAN space, and I think there's 65 vendors. Some of them have SASE offerings, yes, but there are some big differentiators that Mike had mentioned. Again, that private network is one of the biggest components that differentiates us over all those other vendors that are just box players, right? Thank you. Great question.
Next question is, what is the value of the VPN tunnel for a client?
That'd be your client, Ryan. I think that you talked about that solution. So the VPN tunnel allows a point-to-point service essentially that's not as expensive as a terrestrial, if you will, point-to-point service from site to site. Carriers are proud of their fiber, as you know, right? I know, and what the solution here that they provided was just to build a VPN tunnel for a point-to-point service over the internet.
Yeah, in addition to what Mike had said too, if you think about that topology of that customer having a single point of failure, if you will, of that point-to-point circuit, we introduced, an ANAP at each location. We put in dual diverse DIA circuits, so there's some failover there. So if one of those circuits were to fail, there's a different route, different path that VPN tunnel can take across that public internet connection, whether it's the primary or the secondary, and it lowered their cost significantly. So in that type of situation, it was good design. It's not our ideal scenario or ideal customer, right? But it is one that we supported even with two locations ultimately.
All right, next question is, when you say full compensation on renewals, does that include spiffs?
A spiff would only go towards a new logo sale. We do not pay spiffs out on any kind of renewals. But good question.
How do I combat the question, why do I need SD-WAN or a second circuit?
Usually I combat that question with a question. What is your fault tolerance, right? How long can your site or your business be out of operation? How long can your network be down for you to be able to continue business and not start to lose money or operations or whatever that might be? Oftentimes we can have zero downtime in our network, which means that you're going to need an SD-WAN solution for the failover functionality, for the redundancy and the capabilities of having a fault tolerant level of always on, if you will. So that would be the first approach.
Okay, and then we got 3 more questions here. What are the key phrases that we should hear that will kick off a conversation for SD-WAN?
Generally, MPLS is one that I hear big time, right? Network, digital transformation, network digital transformation is another big one. And then with SASE, really, which is where this industry is heading, this idea of this single pass architecture, single pass provider, utility, network as a utility, security questions, right? So if it has to do with network security, oftentimes it's a good idea to look at the SD-WAN or Aryaka in specific.
I would also add, if it's okay, real quick, I know I want to be considerate of time, but I'd also add, there's probably a lot of you that are out potentially selling UCaaS and CCaaS, right? So anytime that you have a UCaaS deployment, you need to make sure that the network behind it is robust and can support, a video call or phone call, whatever it may be. We do a lot of building out networks for folks that are buying Ring Central and Zoom and 8x8, et cetera, right? So those are obviously ones to consider as well. And the other one I would say is support. I mean, like we didn't show some of the details, but I mean, we win, Gartner's Voice of the Customer like every year in all 3 regions, the US, EMEA, and APAC. What that means is our customers are giving feedback to Gartner, and they're saying Aryaka is doing a great job and we'd recommend them. So we hear some people having shortcomings with, I'm not going to mention names, but certain SD-WAN vendors they're not getting the treatment that they want, that they thought they were going to get. And we do a really good job of supporting our customers here at Aryaka. We've got an NPS score of 65. We're winning this Gartner Voice of the Customer. So support is a big thing as well.
Okay, do you have a battle card for your offerings against other competitors that we can review?
I absolutely do. When we conclude this call, I'll send it over to you guys, and then you can distribute it amongst the team. It's actually more partner focused, so it has some qualifying questions of why Aryaka, and it speaks to some of the things differentiators that Holly mentioned as well as Mike did. So absolutely.
And the last question is, what is the definition of ANAP?
Aryaka Network Access Point. So it's basically our name for our SD-WAN appliance, or our box, if you will.